What if I told you the dinner you had last night mattered less to your morning number than the 90 minutes right before you turned off the lamp? I'm Frank. I'm 83 years old, and I've been living with this number for over 2 decades. These days I sleep the whole night through, I get up without dread, and I still drive myself to my granddaughter's soccer games on Saturday mornings. Steady hands, clear head. I say that not to brag, but because I want you to know it's possible to get to a calmer place with this, because I was nowhere close to calm for a long, long time. For years, I did what I assumed was everything right. Dinner at a reasonable hour, portion control, my pills on schedule like a soldier. And still, I'd wake up to a number that made no sense given how good I'd been the day before. I used to lie there some mornings just staring at the ceiling, wondering what the point of trying even was. Here's what changed things for me, and it wasn't a new medication. It was realizing that bedtime isn't the finish line of your day, it's the starting gun for the most important 8 hours your blood sugar goes through. And there are 3 specific habits in that window that actually matter. Not 10, not a complicated regimen, 3. But before I hand you the 3, you need to understand why the hours between when you fall asleep and when you wake up carry so much weight. Because once you see it, you'll never think about just going to bed the same way again. While you're asleep, your liver doesn't clock out. It has one job overnight: keep a trickle of glucose flowing so your brain, which runs almost entirely on sugar for fuel, doesn't run dry at 3 in the morning. In a body that responds well to insulin, that trickle gets managed quietly and you never notice. Research in endocrinology describes this early morning release as the dawn phenomenon, a surge, usually somewhere between 2 and 4 a.m., driven by hormones preparing your body to wake up. But after 60, with years of insulin resistance built up in the tissue, the system that's supposed to catch that glucose release often shows up late to the job, or barely shows up at all. The liver keeps pouring, nothing catches it in time. And that's the number staring back at you that has almost nothing to do with what you ate the night before. I know how that feels, like your own body stopped listening to you, like you did everything asked of you and it just didn't matter. I want to say plainly, that frustration is real, and it is not a sign that you failed. It's a sign of a hormonal process running largely on its own schedule. The good news is that schedule responds to what you do in the hours before it starts. You do everything right. You eat clean, you take your pills, and the next morning that number is still too high. I know that frustration. I lived it for years. They never tell you about the morning rise, your sugar climbing while you sleep, no matter what you did the day before. You wake up, you test, and it feels like the work didn't count, like you're stuck depending on more and getting nowhere. I was done feeling powerless. I didn't want to throw out my doctor's plan. I wanted something natural and simple I could add to it, something that finally moved that morning number. I'll walk you through what changed it for me, and the natural support I add every day is in the free presentation linked below. So here are the 3 habits, in the order I'd tackle them if I were starting over. Habit 1. Move for 10 minutes after dinner. Not a workout, a walk to the mailbox and back, a few laps around the living room if the weather's bad. Here's why it matters so much. Physical movement activates a mechanism in your muscles called GLUT4, which pulls glucose directly out of your bloodstream without needing much insulin to do the pulling. That's sugar from your dinner that gets used up before it ever has the chance to sit in your blood overnight and add fuel to that early morning liver surge. 10 minutes. That's the whole ask. I used to think a walk that short couldn't possibly matter, that if it wasn't a real workout, it wasn't worth counting. I was wrong about that. The body doesn't grade on effort, it responds to the mechanism, and 10 honest minutes triggers it just the same as an hour would. Habit 2. A small serving of slow-digesting protein in the hour before bed, something like cottage cheese, plain yogurt, or a handful of nuts. Research on nighttime protein intake has shown that a slow-release protein called casein trickles amino acids into your system steadily for hours while you sleep, which appears to help keep your body in more of a fed state through the night rather than an empty one that can push your liver toward releasing more glucose to compensate. Think of it like a low, steady fire instead of nothing burning at all. Your body isn't scrambling in the middle of the night because it isn't running on empty. Habit 3. And this is the one almost nobody connects to their morning number. your bedroom temperature and darkness. Research linking sleep quality to hormone regulation has found that cooler, darker sleeping environments are associated with steadier overnight cortisol patterns. And cortisol is one of the central hormones telling your liver to release glucose in those early morning hours. A fan, blackout curtains, turning the thermostat down 2 degrees, small changes, real hormonal consequences. I'll admit this was the habit I resisted longest because it felt too small to matter next to diet and medication. But once I actually darkened my room and turned the thermostat down, I noticed I was waking up less during the night, and fewer interruptions to sleep means a calmer hormonal ride until morning. I want to be honest that none of these 3 habits works in isolation the way a pill does. They're not switches you flip. They're closer to 3 gentle hands pressing on the same lever from different sides. The walk clearing fuel out of your blood, the protein keeping your body fed through the night, the cooler room keeping your stress hormones from adding extra pressure to a system that's already working hard. Skip one and the other 2 still help. Do all 3 consistently, and that's when people tend to notice the difference most. 3 habits: a short walk, a small protein snack, a cooler, darker room. Together, they work on the same problem from 3 different angles: less fuel sitting in your blood at bedtime, a steadier overnight state, and calmer hormones driving the dawn surge. I think about a man named Cornelius, 68, retired from 30 years driving a city bus route. He told me he used to set 2 alarms just to give himself time to work up the nerve to check his meter. He started with the walk after dinner because it was the easiest one to just do without thinking too hard about it. A few weeks later, he added the cooler bedroom. He told me, not with fireworks, just very plainly, that he stopped dreading the sound of the meter's beep. That's the goal here, not a miracle number, less dread. I want you to picture what that actually feels like, because I live it. These days, I wake up and there's no pit in my stomach before I even reach for the meter. I make my coffee slow, I read the paper on the porch, and some mornings I forget to check the time because I'm not racing against a feeling of dread anymore. I've still got the energy to help my neighbor fix his fence on a Saturday. That's not luck. That's paying attention to hours most people never think twice about. And here's the part I want to sit with for a second, because it matters more than the mechanics. The real dread underneath all of this was never really about the number itself. It was the sense that your own body had stopped listening to you, that no matter what you tried, something in you had quietly turned against you. I felt that. I know a lot of you watching this have felt it too. And underneath that is something even harder. The fear of what it means for your independence down the road, whether you'll still be able to get around on your own, whether you'll be a burden to the people you love. I can't promise you a cure. Nobody honest can. But I can tell you that the people I've watched make real, lasting peace with this number weren't the ones who found some miracle. They were the ones who stopped ignoring the hours between midnight and 6 a.m., the hours nobody's watching, nobody's grading you on, but where so much of tomorrow's number actually gets decided. Please talk to your doctor before changing anything about your routine, especially if you're on medication. These habits are meant to work alongside your treatment plan, never as a replacement for it. Drop your morning number in the comments below, and I want to know what you're seeing, and I promise you're not alone in it. And if this helped you understand your own mornings a little better, subscribe, because there's more of this conversation coming. If you watched this whole thing, you're not the type who gives up. You're the type who keeps looking for a real answer. So let me be straight with you. The morning number isn't your fault, and it isn't just diabetes. It's the dawn rise, and it responds to the right daily habits. The goal was never to quit your treatment. It was to support it naturally so you finally see that number move and feel in control again. Alongside the steps I showed you, I take a simple, natural support every day to help keep my blood sugar in a healthy range. Affordable, easy, and it works with my doctor's plan, not against it. The free presentation is in the description below. Go see it for yourself. And keep your doctor in the loop. This is support, not a replacement.